In this video, we're going to be breaking down the following typical themes for the Jobava London. How to attack the Grünfeld setup using the h-pawn. How to play with the bishop pair when black answers knight b5 with bishop to d6. How to deal with the Englund once and for all. And at the end of the video, we're going to be covering some typical endgames showing how you can take advantage of the backward pawn. So we're getting the white pieces, going to be playing d4 and then knight c3. We see d5, gonna be getting the bishop to f4 and see how my opponent will be dealing with this, and he does so by playing g6, and we're gonna be getting into some Grünfeld type of positions, and I'm gonna be playing h4. And the trick about it is to play bishop g7, bishop e2 and not rush with h5, because this is a bit of a tricky line, because then the exchange stack is not like super effective. It's like not so simple to explain. It's just that it's not working. Like this pawn defends there and some subtleties that makes it good for black. It's hard for me to explain it in like blitz game here, maybe in like the analysis tab later. So okay, on h5, knight f3, knight e5 is definitely like a good plan. And if he goes there, bishop e2, he takes, that's good for us. We see bishop to g4, just gonna go to like e2, idea play knight e5 as I was saying. I think he's gonna like give up the bishop pair at this point. Yeah, knight e7, just gonna play knight e5. So we see bishop takes on e2 by my opponent, and I think we're just gonna be taking with a queen generally, castling long. Whenever they take on e5, make sure you take with a bishop, keeping an eye on this diagonal. Yeah, just castling, and then the plan is pretty straightforward. If they castle f3, g4, if they keep like messing around with, I don't know, queen a5, staying with king in the center, maybe we can even play e4 directly or after f3. So he's doing that. This is very useful. Still waiting. We have a choice then between either this or that. Can still play king b1, sort of a waiting move. I'm just gonna do that because he's unable to castle long because f7 drops. Just waiting to see what he wants to do. So he commits finally, but that's actually just a blunder. So yeah, it's just like bad because we're hitting the queen, and also like pawn on b5 drops. Can go for the endgame. This could also be nice with knight c7, but I think this is like simplest, just heading towards the endgame where we have 2 pawns advantage and just like crushing. Not really like because we're winning because of a blunder, but it was like a very unpleasant situation for my opponent, so blunder was kind of expected. And now we're winning the exchange because c8 is like only available square, not course. But then we have a fork on e7. It's gonna be taking that, I guess. And how do we make progress now? We need to like open up files for our rook. I guess b3 is a nice way to start, preparing c4 at some point. Maybe could have also played bishop e5. Just gonna like fix the weakness, I guess. And then bishop c7's coming. Okay, gonna go for that. Has this rook c8 move, but okay, just collect everything on that diagonal. Goes knight d7, maybe just like knight e5 now. Trading a pair of knights seems just fine. Knight e5, I think taking with a bishop is simplest. Taking with a pawn might also be fine. I like this better now because of knight d7, there's e4. Using this motif that the rook is active. He goes there. I think just gonna go e4 regardless. If d4, maybe just bishop d6. If pawn takes, simply taking is winning. Could also take there first. Okay, just gonna stick with a simple move. So opponent plays rook c8, just attacking the bishop, but I think now it's like perfect time to trade rooks with rook d8. So after this, and bishop takes. First of all, I think we're gonna be playing just bishop c7, defending this pawn. And then we could just go bishop d6 check, perhaps, trading bishops. Taking. No, just time to push. Could also bring the king. Like king b2. Opponent plays knight e5. Just gonna be playing like c4. Just defending with rook d1. Playing king c3, b4 next. I guess knight g4. We're just gonna be playing c5 with idea to play c6 and then d7. So on knight e5, just gonna be like activating the king. We see f6, just gonna play like b4, ab, take with a king. King b5. Next. Pawns are just gonna be way too strong. We're gonna be advancing the a pawn very, very soon. Like, ignore that. King b6, idea, push pawn all the way. Keep pushing. Just taking there. I mean, he's just like way too slow. He's like not even close to do any counterplay. He's got to check on c4, but I guess not more than that. Just king a6 and no checks. And we do see a resignation. Okay, that's pretty nice. Okay, we get the white pieces. Gonna be playing d4 with the idea to get in the hyper-aggressive Jobava London. We see d6. I think, I don't know, we could actually play e4, but let's play knight c3 first. See what my opponent does, because that's like the Jobava move. And I think now time to like step in the center. Maybe d5 is also okay here, because knight e5. I think maybe just go like f4. Try to play in the center. Because if we go e4, I'm pretty sure he'll go e5 himself. Yeah, I think we'll try that. Let's see. I think I'm gonna be playing something that's like typical for my chessable course. I think we're gonna be playing the position online. Just gonna go like knight e2 and try to get like a fianchetto. Okay, he takes, which is definitely questionable, and then plays queen f6. Yeah, I think that's like quite a popular way of playing in like the lower rated brackets. I think when I've made my course, I've stumbled across this idea. I don't really remember what I was supposed to play. I think anything is fine. I'll play queen c4 because it seems natural just hitting this pawn. But again, I think you can pretty much do whatever and be in very good shape as white. So opponent played c6, which is actually a very good move because it's stopping knight d5 and also like dealing with that threat. Nevertheless, we're gonna play bishop e3 with the idea to castle long. And against queen e6, sure, you can play like the endgames if you want. If you're like a big endgame geek, maybe you're practicing your endgames to become a successful Caro-Kam player. But yeah, I mean, I would like to keep queens, but I think I'll just let him take on c4 because we've got some pressure in the long run, because that pawn on d6 is a backward pawn. With the pawn on c7, I'm not sure I would have allowed this, but just because there's this sort of backward pawn, I think that's what it's named, on d6, we can put a lot of pressure on it in the long run, doubling rooks, and then it's gonna be really hard for black to protect that, because yeah, if this pawn could move back, that would be amazing, but it can't, at least last time I checked. So we see bishop e6, and I have a choice between going bishop b3 and taking. Not sure I like taking that much, because then it allows him to play d5 and it could get messy, so just gonna be playing the simple move. And my game plan, it's all going to be directed towards this weak pawn on d6. Also, this is like sometimes interesting, but not sure we need it in this case, because like you could take advantage of the c file somehow in some lines. Yeah, I don't want to confuse people. I'm just gonna be taking towards the center. I think everyone's gonna having like a weird look to me if I take this way, even though I think it was perfectly fine in that scenario. And can be preparing to double, I think. Could also start this way, but I think just doubling is super natural. Bringing the rook next and this. I have a very simple game plan. I see a weak pawn, I keep attacking it until we win it, and yeah, that's like pretty much it. You don't really need to do anything ultra sophisticated, I would say. Yeah, just attacking the pawn, forcing knight e8 if he wants to like defend, but what an ugly move that would be. Okay, so he wants to, get the e4 pawn in exchange. You should not get fooled by the fact that there's rook d8. I mean, sure, there is a move, but he can drop back the rook and it's not a checkmate. But I think playing that endgame could be instructive after rook d7 with like the super aggressive, super active rook. So even though I think objectively best is to play f3 and he literally has no way to defend that pawn, I think it can be very instructive to show you that endgame. Yeah, just like taking, he takes with a knight on e4. We go for the back ranker, but he's got rook e8 back, defending. Now we take the rook and then we play rook d7. And we've got like a really active rook here. And the only thing that we need would be to bring the king in like a good way. Something like this, I assume, would be good. But the thing is, we have to always meet king e8 with rook c7. And he's like never getting rid of it. Like never. Yeah, I think king d2, king f8. And then maybe just like... so I need to be careful because f4 he's got there. And then check followed by rook d7. That's drawing. So not sure I love that move in hindsight. Because now if I play king e3, he's got check and then rook there. So I think I'm like forced to play king c3, which is perhaps not ideal, but maybe fine. And now rook c7, it's important and it's super unpleasant to deal with this rook because he would like to play king d8, but then the pawns are dropping. And also his rook is stuck there. So yeah, he has to do something like h5. That is correct. And then I think maybe we play f4. That feels super natural. g6 and just like g3, slowly pushing. Whenever he goes there, rook g7 is gonna come. Start collecting stuff. It just like feels super unpleasant for him overall. Maybe could also start pushing b4. So our opponent plays king f8. I think he will eventually do this move. I don't think he will try to wait like that forever. But maybe this is like a good time to play king d3. Because if he can no longer go rook d8, rook d7, like in the previous stuff. But okay, like after the check, if I go to e3, then he has rook e8, rook e7. So maybe now it's time to play b4, and if they play rook e8, then we start taking, and rook e2. I'm assuming rook a7 should be winning for us. Although it's gonna be kind of a race. Like he takes on h2, play rook c7, he goes to h3, we take there, he takes on g3, we check, and then the h pawn is like pushing. So this could still like be very tricky. I don't like that. So b4, rook e8 takes, he plays rook e2. I think I kind of have to go for it. I mean, plays there and then I've got to like go for this whole race. I think he's like fine in that endgame. Objectively. Okay, he's like playing waiting. But I think that might not be the best strategy. Push the king. Like this is his resource, that's like fine. Maybe king c4 was inaccurate because it's making that even stronger. I think I'm totally messing up this one. But he's like simply missing that idea. So now we get the ultra active king and I think we should be winning. Objectively. Play c4. Guess we take this way and we push. Okay, on rook h2 I think maybe this is nice. He goes there and... okay, so he plays rook there. Maybe king c5, because if rook a2 trying to defend, we have b5. Just push the pawn. I think we should be ahead in this race. King d6 maybe. Threatening mate. Okay. King e5. Not sure I had to play king d6 by the way. That looked a bit unnecessary. I think he should like push his own pawn. This is just a gross loss of a tempo. And now king back to d6, I think, or like d5. Don't want to give him rook e6 check. Rook b3. I think we can just push the pawns. Pawns are gonna be deadly together. I think king there once again. Threatening mate. King c7. with the idea to push the pawn. Okay, we're threatening to promote. We check. Just king c6. This is big threat. And on rook d8, it's quite precise to make this move, even though I think there are other wins as well. Okay, I don't think he has much of an alternative at this point. Okay, rook d8, but now really nice to throw in this move, and we're gonna be taking, and like everything happens, we check, get a new queen, and get to stop his queen. What is like super cute way to end this game? I guess queen e5. And then king d8, something like king d6. Even though I could get rid of the pawn if I want to. And we do see the resignation, but yeah, I believe if he would have played rook e8 when I played king c4, I think he was maybe even slightly better. I don't know. He played a lot of good moves, like h5 is a good move by him. g6 again felt good. I played b4 and king c4 was kind of bad. Okay, it's apparently still like a +1. But the key move, I guess, okay, you can play anything here and you're still better as white. Not sure if you guys can see it, yeah. To me, it looked really strange, like these positions. But apparently c3 is strong. And then you win these pawns like this. And apparently I'm somehow ahead in this race. Don't ask me how. I knew it's gonna be like a huge mess. So like, I'm curious how this plays out. I have to play this to meet h3 with rook d2, and okay, like with this, the pawns appears to be winning. But I mean, kind of a crazy outcome it would have been. We're getting the white pieces, gonna playing d4 followed by knight c3. Bishop's coming out to f4. And we see this super common e6 move, gonna be going knight b5, applying immediate pressure onto c7. Expecting knight a6 in like a lot of games, or bishop d6. Main line is considered to be this check, followed by bishop a5. Really interesting play. Now we're just kind of, yeah, taking the two bishops. We've got like a pretty long-term initiative. It's gonna be sort of a slow game compared to what you're used in the Jobava, I would say. But I think white has like a pretty healthy long-term advantage with the two bishops. And we just play e3, bishop e2, castle short. Important to not play like bishop d3 because he's gonna play with like e5, e4 at some point and you're getting forked. So bishop belongs to e2. Okay, b6. Makes me consider bishop b5, but I don't think it's really achieving much. Can just go bishop e2 and castle. Knight e4. Maybe he's got this type of ideas. Should we bother? Like, if I castle g5 and then h5 could be annoying. Because I don't like touching the h-pawn because of knight g3. fg, it doesn't really look that bad to be fair, but I just think it's a bit unnecessary to allow that. So maybe just a move such as knight d2 is what the position calls for. And then if g5, I mean, simple answer could be something like bishop g3. Even though maybe knight e4, gf, knight c3 could also be interesting. Yeah, could also play maybe h4 just to stop all g5, but it's not really the move that I'm trying to play in this structure. So I just think knight d2 is sort of a good move in general. See if he plays g5. Would be actually a bit surprised if he did. And if we trade knights, that's totally fine by me. Also fine with f5. I think we just trade. Then we can castle. Just mind our own business. Maybe if they take this way, we have d5 as a strong move. I think that's like important to mention. Because ed, queen d5, we're opening up the position for like the two bishops. It's actually kind of huge. Yeah, I really like d5 move. Maybe starting this way is also nice. Because this is sort of only move. And then d5 forcing ed. And then queen d5 and he's like dropping stuff. So I think this is most precise. He can't play there obviously because d6 would drop. And now d5. ed, queen d5 will be a double attack. And I think white just like completely crushing. I mean, it's actually a triple attack. While the king is also sort of stuck in the center. Such a nice position now. Rook c8. I think this is like easiest with the idea to go queen e6. Plays queen d7, stopping that, but well, I think can simply castle long. He's still sort of pinned because we take on d7 with check. Or like play queen e6 is a cute move if he moves the knight. Plays rook d8. Now I think something like g4 could be potentially very strong, just opening up the position. Maybe taking is fine with like queen e5. King f7, bishop c7, sort of winning the house. Yeah, that's like the easy way to solve this. Like this, like it's getting a bit sophisticated. You're kind of doing more work than you should. Just this, and then queen e5, only move, and then bishop c7. Hitting the queen and the rook, and it's just like winning. Has queen e7, but can either take or like pick up the rook, so I'm just gonna go for that. He can't take with the queen because of the mate on e6. And yeah, this is just an easy win then. King f7, bishop there. He's got like a lot of problems on the d file. He's losing at least the exchange. Okay, so we see queen e7. We can trade queens, go for like a winning endgame. But I think even better to include taking the free pawn with check and then taking on d8, or if he plays queen f6 with trade queens and pick up the free rook. Actually, we're like winning everything now. There's not really much he can do. So opponent plays queen f6, but yeah, simplest is just to like take his queen and then like pick up the rook. We're gonna be up a full rook in an endgame, which should be enough generally. Plus we're trading all the pieces, which is also nice. Just gonna bring the rook into the game with rook d1. And opponent also resigns. And just jump right into another game. And we get the white pieces. We're playing d4, followed by knight c3. And then bishop comes out to like f4. We see e5. What is this? Like the delayed Englund gambit of some sort. I don't know, you guys. But I'll teach you how to deal with this Englund once and for all. You just give them back the pawn, okay? You can have it. I don't mind your pawn, okay? You can have that pawn. That's fine by me. It's not really a Budapest, is it? I think Budapest is like a cool gambit, but it's like against c4. With a knight on c3, I guess it's just like worse. I mean, I had better ways to like keep the pawn, but this is just like really, really easy. Yeah, just taking with a queen. We have like 2 pieces developed. He only has 1, which is nice. Could develop either to f4 or d2. I think d2, unpinning, castling, bishop d3. Sort of easy game, I would say, for white. Just castling. No need to get scared of such moves as knight d4. I think just like queen g3. Queen doesn't really belong to like g3 forever. So gonna be going there. Ideas to push f4 e5. Whoops. Also bishop h6 in some lines. Maybe could jump with a knight. Maybe just like f4, bishop d3, e5. Many plans to choose from. I think we just develop. I think you should just keep it simple and develop. Can pretty much play knight d5 anytime. Problem with bishop h6 is that he can take and then play queen f6. So not rushing with that. And okay, queen f6, it's really inviting us to play knight d5. Go for the bishop trade. He plays queen back to d8. And then maybe we just play like f4 with like a better position. Could also go this first. And then maybe 5 ideas. Many interesting options. But I think this is like simplest again. Just trying to keep it as simple as I can. Knight e5, forcing bishop trade. We take with the rook. He's gotta go queen back. And we're like slightly better here. Not anything crazy. But that's not like the goal with us. It's just like trying to play good moves. consistently, just like easy solutions. And yeah, I think trying to keep it simple will give you pretty much best results. So he's gonna play queen d8, defending this pawn that is now under attack. Obviously queen's also hanging, and then I think we just play f4, trying to expand. Do you think playing rapid is better than blitz to improve your game? It like really depends. I would say if you can't really focus in blitz, sure, play rapid like 10 plus 0. We can maybe start with like slower blitz, 5 plus 3, something like that. As long as you play like a lot of games, I think you should be good. So if queen d8 as expected, just gonna follow up with like f4. Controlling the square on e5. Expecting him to play bishop e6. Then, yeah, we might just play c3 type of move. I think I like that. Even though it gives him ideas to trade and then go knight e7. I think we still have a very small advantage there. But it's not like that simple. I think maybe keeping knights with knight e3 is nice. Even though it's sort of a retreating move. And I don't like it for that simple fact, because we have to retreat. And generally you shouldn't retreat for like no reason. But I think maybe it's like okay here. Just c3. If he takes, that's fine. Plays knight e7. I mean, we just go like bishop c2 or something, defend the pawn. Maybe queen f3 and then push these pawns. I mean, bishop's like a bit better than the knight. We have extra space. So the idea was with this c3 move is that maybe he has some kind of knight b4 jump planned. So I just played c3, dealing with that. And now I'm really expecting him to take on d5, because now, I mean, I already have a super tempting knight f6 move, among other things, which he might have missed. He's getting like a bit lucky though, because I don't see a great follow-up after king h8, only move. So I might just very well play something else. I don't think keeping the knights is that great. Maybe he can even take on a2. Maybe just bishop c2, as in the previous lines. Or to c4 even. But I like it to c2. Okay. Just like this. If he takes with the knight, I think it's even better for us, because I feel like he should be giving away this bishop. And c6 is like really creating a weak pawn there. I don't like that move at all. And you see that you don't really need to make any impressive moves. Just play sort of solid chess, solid logical moves. And opponents tend to just create a lot of weaknesses, just make a lot of unnecessary mistakes pretty much. Because now, for instance, we can take, go f5, and then pawn on d6 will be hanging. And even the endgames after bishop takes on a2, I think, are clearly better for us, and we're gonna go right for that. f5, hitting bishop and hitting the pawn. He can have that, like I don't really mind it, because his bishop will have a pretty tricky time coming back into the game, and my rook will pretty much be dominating the d-file. Perhaps in this position, you know, I could have played b3, trapping his bishop, and might have been winning as well. But I just feel like, again, going for the endgame is a bit more instructive. He goes queen g5. Can throw in h4. Could play queen g3, that was like my initial thought. Again, offering the endgame. I think I really want to go for the endgames, guys. I think showing you how you want to be dealing with endgames in general is a really powerful tool. Has to pretty much trade. Otherwise, we might really catch his bishop. And then if he goes for that, we're going to be getting huge pressure along the d-file with rook d7 to come. Yeah, again, like b3 is a big threat, so he's got to play bishop there, I think. And then we activate. That's like first step, hitting the pawn. I think he has to go back like that. But then maybe bishop b3, we get another target. So maybe, yeah, bishop e6 is just bad, so it's good he played rook b8 from his point of view, but now maybe e5 is a good move. And That would give him bishop d5 though, which I'm not sure I want to allow. Maybe just g4, g5 is a nice way to start this. Even though putting that additional pawn on a light square again, not sure about it, but it feels good. Because if like rook d8 with double, yeah, we're gonna be trading pretty much, and he can't really go bishop e2 chasing the pawn, because then like this is always running into bishop b3 and it's just a disaster. Not to mention I can go g5. And now we've got another scenario with super active rook against very passive one on b8, which oftentimes will just give you a winning position. And this is like quite insane, because if we count the pieces, the material is equal, and only like a slightly more active rook makes the game winning, which not many people would expect. I'm really considering to sack the pawn here with g5, because first of all it's a double pawn and it's not that valuable, and if he takes we can go e5, and then this pawn is becoming dangerous, like really dangerous. It's definitely not something that I'm forced to do. I could also consider the somewhat easier plan of bringing the king all the way to like f4 and then either g5 or e5. But g5 now feels like kind of right, because I might be taking there and undoubling my pawn, so I like g5. Bit of a pawn sack, but I think it's completely justified, especially in case he takes. Go e5, maybe we even go b3 first, with the idea that on bishop f7 we go e5, and then like e6 will come with a tempo, because if I play e5 he has bishop d5 kind of ideas. But e5, let's calculate. Bishop d5 f6 has to take, I take, and then rook g7 is coming. So like bishop g2, rook g7, king f8, and then maybe we have bishop b3. He's got like bishop d5. Can trade, go rook h7. It's a first line, it's like pretty easy to calculate. I guess we're better, but not so simple. And like b3 maybe has bishop e2 idea, but then e5 again looks very juicy. b3 bishop f1, maybe b4 then, or like, I don't know. I think we've got like many ways of playing this. I feel like advancing is not yet time. I think I'll just bring the king. Bringing king over is very, very useful usually. Yes, we just sacked the pawn, but it was more of like a long-term investment. We're not really looking to get back some profit immediately. And now we take this chance to activate the bishop, and I think we can afford giving up that pawn, because the e pawn is very dangerous now that his king has been boxed in the corner. Yeah, e6 just looks completely winning, because he's got no way to actually deal with this. So looks like the investment of the g-pawn is fully rewarded. In the end, we can just simply trade and play e7, followed by rook onto the a rank. No counterplay to that. And yeah, you can notice that opponent will resign with this rook sitting on b8. This is like the perfect picture of how generally this plays out. Just gonna go rook d8, and that's pretty much game. Get a new queen, and he also presses the resign button. We get a nice one, I think. Thanks a lot for making it this far into the video, and if you're looking for more content, make sure to check out some of the previous episodes from the same series.